Hello, subscribers! You are watching the 7th episode of a 9-part series where I rate every anime I've ever seen, with a few caveats that I mentioned in the first episode. In this episode, I cover the animes I've forgotten the most. So it should be a pretty quick episode, as I have very little to say about any of these animes. Or at least I should. Although some of them I've only watched one episode, so that almost hardly counts as forgetting anyway, but I decided to put it here anyway. Anyway, let's hurry and get this over with. My thoughts on Outlaw Star was, when I first came on, was that it was a better version of Cowboy Bebop. Unfortunately, that's pretty much all I remembered from it. That, and that their spaceship has arms, but realistically it probably has very little similarities to Cowboy Bebop, but I would still rather watch it than Cowboy Bebop. Outlaw Star gets 2 stars. This is the only picture I could find of Duel. I cannot zoom in. Duel? As a child, it was described to me as a better version of Evangelion. And I agreed as a kid. Even though I didn't see the whole anime, only a few episodes, maybe one, I don't remember. Of course, the only thing that made it better than Evangelion was it being an easier to understand storyline. So I guess you could say if you wanted to get your kids into Evangelion, start them with Duel, just to get them used to it, but I really don't think that's necessary. I am pretty confident if I watched it today, I would not be impressed with Duel, and I would definitely still rank it far below Evangelion. Duel gets 2 stars. Bastard, the Exploder Wizard. Not sure if that's actually his title, just Bastard. Anyway, what I remember from this one is Kingdom is in trouble, so they summon a particular wizard who has to take over the body of a little boy, and he grows up into this man, and he's powerful enough to defeat all their enemies. But he's not completely overpowered, just powerful enough to win. The only actual scene I really remember from this anime is one scene where this girl is chained up somewhere, and I want to say this guy, probably wasn't this guy, it's probably someone else. He throws a slime or summons a slime in there, and he asks her, "Do you know what this is?" I think she has a horrified look on her face or something, and she says, "That's right, it's slime." As if anybody needed to be told that. It's almost as if he put the emphasis on in the wrong place, because the very next thing he says is that the slime will eat her clothes. Bastard gets 3 stars. I should probably watch it again someday. Lost Universe is a tricky one. I probably remember more than I give it credit, but not really enough to explain the plot or anything. Just one particular scene really stands out. The main pilot has a device in his ship that lets him link his mind to it so he can telepathically control it. And this girl, a hologram on the ship, is in love with him. And it is dangerous hooking himself up to the ship to control it telepathically. And when he does, it actually might be a certain circumstance that's dangerous, not just hooking himself up. But when he does, she's all crying because she doesn't want him putting his life at risk. And it is a very sad scene because she can't do anything to stop him except cry. I felt like Lost Universe didn't live up to its potential. The main character was just mediocre. I don't remember him being that skilled or that unskilled. He's just there. At least that's my memory of it anyway. Lost Universe gets 2 stars. And here's a dumb one. Black Bullet, it's one of those post-apocalyptic scenarios, sort of, where I think the last city on Earth is surrounded by these black pillars that help keep away monsters. And our main character and his sister are fighters, monster fighters, or journalists or something. I don't know. I only watched the first episode, and it really didn't interest me. For one, it felt like they were just happy with the way things were. It's not like Attack on Titan or even Radiant, where they want to stop the monsters for good. Monsters are just part of life here. And there was some really stupid exposition in the beginning where he shoots his black bullet at a monster, and the guy next to him, for exposition purposes, proclaims a black bullet, which is dumb because it means he saw the bullet as it was flying. If they had made a black trail for the bullet, that would have made sense. Black Bullet gets 1 star. Ninja Scroll. When I look at this picture, it looks a lot older than I remember it looking. And the only thing I really remember from Ninja Scroll is really one of the first scenes in Ninja Scroll, where a girl is getting raped. So Ninja Scroll is not for children, and it gets 2 stars. G Gundam, or Mobile Fighter Gundam, is the only Gundam series I've actually watched. So I guess you can consider this my score for all Gundam. It's actually difficult finding a picture, or a good picture for G Gundam, because the image search is just flooded with all the other Gundams. But G Gundam is about Gundams that are piloted by human actual motion. Kind of like Pacific Rim, except you don't need 2 people to pilot. And instead of some war with soldiers, it's a fighting tournament. Personally, I'd say it's the best Gundam out there. I've never been terribly interested in Gundam. G Gundam gets 2 stars. High School DxD is definitely not for children. I've only seen the first episode, so I don't really know how bad it gets. I don't quite think it gets as bad as Inuzuki Reviewers, which I will not even be covering in this series. Inuzuki Reviewers is just a softcore hentai, and therefore doesn't even deserve to get mentioned, except that I just mentioned it. And High School DxD is just fan service. Maybe it gets even worse, I don't know. But putting the fan service aside and focusing on the story, it's still not good, because the main heroes or characters, not this guy, he's just a normal high schooler at the start, but all the women that he starts hanging around with are demons. And apparently the demons are vying for control or something between other demons. Even if they didn't have any fan service in this anime, I don't think I'd care for it. High School DxD gets 1 star. Maze, here's another good one. Maze starts out in a pretty similar to The Wizard of Oz, where this girl wakes up in her house, but her house is somewhere else. And I think it even killed someone where it landed. But that's where the show starts. No tornado or anything. And I don't know how much memory she has. I don't think she has any memory, but she could have some. I don't know, but during the daytime, she's herself. And at nighttime, she turns into a perverted guy. And spoiler alert, that guy is actually her brother. So her and her, I think, twin brother are inhabiting the same body or space and time. Not sure exactly how it worked. And each one of them can use a different kind of magic, which helps when piloting their mecha that they get. Her magic is called Diamond and his is called Ruby. I think that's right. Something like that. And that's pretty much the gist of that. Maze gets 3 stars. And out of all the animes on this list today, this is the one I really want to rewatch the most. Eventually, I will do that. Project Eiko is definitely an older anime. Stars Eiko, Seiko, and Biko. Eiko is, from what we can gather from a single scene where she's running out of her house and you see a Superman costume in the closet, we can assume she's the daughter of Superman. And running past that costume is the only explanation we get as to why she's so strong. And Biko basically serves as her Lex Luthor. And they basically fight over Seiko for some reason. Parental discretion is advised, but gets 2 stars. Cutie Honey, I barely saw as a kid, and then I tried watching it as an adult, but it was way too dated for me, and I just couldn't get past the first episode. I don't remember much about it. I think she's an android. I think the blonde transforms into the redhead. I think that, and the transformation sequence is one of those classic anime sequences where it's got implied nudity as the transformation goes. Really, if you just looked it up online, you'd probably know about as much about it as I do. I am generously giving Cutie Honey 2 stars. Given that I stopped watching after the first episode, I should just give it 1 star. But it was mostly because it was dated that I did that, so that feels a little unfair. And here is the last really good anime we have on this list, Dragon Half. Dragon Half is a comedy about a half human, half dragon, and that's all I remember about it. It's only about 6 episodes, I think, maybe less. Might only be 3 episodes. I don't remember. It is very incomplete, which is a disappointment. I remember it being very funny. I don't know how the jokes will hold up now, but I don't know. So, I'm giving Dragon Half 3 stars. Shadow Skill is about a brother and sister who practice a particular fighting style which focuses on legs. Although her brother actually prefers using his arms until at the end of the movie, I'm guessing it is, he learns the history behind Shadow Skill and gets a little better at it, but he's still surpassed by his sister because she always knew the history. And this picture does not do her justice. Those arms are just way too toned for someone who focuses entirely on their legs. And that sleeve doesn't look right either. Shadow Skill gets 2 stars. Akashic Records of Bastard Magical Instructor. I forgot the title of this and had to look up Bastard Substitute Teacher, because even though I saw the entire first season, when I thought about this anime, I wasn't sure I actually saw it. This is one of those animes I discovered on Facebook, where Facebook just showed me a scene from it, and I said, okay, that seems like something to watch. And then when I started writing my list for these videos, when I thought back on Akashic Records, I wasn't sure whether I actually saw it or if I was just remembering what I saw on Facebook. But no, I did see the entire first season. It's just a pretty forgettable anime. Akashic Records gets 2 stars. And speaking of forgettable animes, there is one more anime on this list, but I do not know the name of it, which means I couldn't find a picture of it. All I remember from it is that it also is an anime I saw on Facebook and it said take a look at, but as soon as I looked at it, not even 5 minutes into it, I stopped. It was the quickest I've ever noped out of an anime. And why did I quit? Well, the main character, or at least in the 5 minutes that I saw, the main character was a teacher, high school or college, I'm not sure, who was apparently a young boy prodigy. I assume he's prodigy because he looked way too young to be a teacher, but his voice was awful. His voice was just cancer. Imagine Maggie Smith trying to play a boy, perhaps teenage boy, and she does nothing to hide her voice or actually try and sound like a boy. Or Sailor Moon. Imagine if Serena's voice was actually in Darian's body. That's what this anime was like. And as soon as I heard that, I had to stop watching. Never even got to the werewolves or whatever. To recap, Outlaw Star gets 2 stars. Duel gets 2 stars. Bastard gets 3 stars. Lost Universe gets 2 stars. That one with the bad voice that I never remember the name of gets 1 star, obviously. Black Bullet gets 1 star. Ninja Scroll gets 2 stars. G Gundam gets 2 stars. High School DxD gets 1 star. Maze gets 3 stars, and I actually watched Maze again since I made this video, and it surprised me. There was a lot I forgot about that anime. Apparently, as a kid, you really don't notice incest. Nevertheless, I'm still giving it 3 stars, though I might have some things to say about it in a future video. Project Echo gets 2 stars, Cutie Honey gets 2 stars, Dragon Half gets 3 stars, Shadow Skill gets 2 stars, and, Bastard Substitute Teacher or Bastard Magical Instructor, whatever it was called, gets 2 stars. And in the next episode should be the episode where I cover all the video game animes. That's animes set in with a video game setting, not animes based on video games. See you then.